Hello and welcome to Noobs in Progress. My name is Nathan, and here with me I have.
Ethan Murphy, Nathan Beatty's friend.
And
Harry Michael, Lucius, Van Winkle, McGrath, but you can call me Mick.
Mick. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Horrible.
Fantastic.
Horrible.
No, don't go there.
I don't know why Mick is doing good. We all saw this thing. None of us are doing good. None of us are doing good.
Oh, man.
Let me apologize off top because I suggested this movie. And Mick and Nate are really good guys, really good friends of mine. And they all are like the hobbits from Shire. They all joined up with me to take the ring into Mordor to get their little feet burned and their hair singed. And I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry for putting you all through this.
But see, the thing was, I thought I had seen it. Like, and I'll fully admit, like, I was like, oh, I saw it. It wasn't that bad. Like, I saw like most of it. It wasn't that bad. I had not seen most of it. I did not realize how much was in this thing. Like, oh, how did this get made? Ow.
I tried to do some research on it, and it's one of those things where it's basically been redacted by the government as far as existing. They don't want to talk about how it was made.
And the actors, the people that were in it, some of them are like, oh, I've never seen it. Harrison Ford's like,
oh,
never
yeah.
seen it. And then the other ones are they kind of make light of it, like the Star Wars holiday special that no one's ever seen or wants to see again.
My favorite story was Carrie Fisher said that apparently George Lucas had given her an actual official copy, like it was an official copy of it for doing commentary for one of the remasters. She said she loved it. She and what she would do is she would play it at parties when she wanted people to leave. So
yeah, that's exactly what yes. For those who don't know, we watched Star Wars Holiday Special. And I'm using holiday generously because it's not really, they call it Life Day. And let's dive face first into the ass hellery that is this thing.
Yes. We took the gamble that y'all may not want to join us on this endeavor. And you'd be fine with just listening to us talk about it. If you want to watch it, okay.
No, it's not. No. If you want to watch it, stop.
He's like, ethically, I cannot. Morally and ethically, I cannot let you watch it.
But it's the very first appearance of Boba Fett, though.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, wants to see that. Like, that's the sub point where it's going to be like, if you want to fast forward and find that part, it actually is the only part that I remember when I saw it live back in the day on a Friday night when it preempted Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk on my Friday night. But I was waiting because I had the TV guide and I'm like, 2-page / Star Wars special. Oh yeah, we were ready.
So that's what we need to do. So obviously our guest, we haven't. He introduced himself, but our guest Mick is essentially the third musketeer of the original CIP network. He's kind of our silent partner. He's a Leonardo to our turtle foursome, more or less, including Ari. And Mick, we wanted to have Mick on the show because Mick actually did view this special when it aired originally back in 1978, right? 1978.
Yeah.
So we
remember 1978. It was a week before Thanksgiving is when it came out.
Oh, gosh, they ruined Thanksgiving. But so we wanted to have his take on having witnessed this or survived this back when it originally aired.
My first question is like, so you saw it live, like you were a little kid and you saw this. What were your thoughts? Like, did you obviously like of what you can remember? Like, obviously, like what exactly were you thinking when Itchy was watching the softcore porn? Like what? But like in reality, like what were you thinking?
Well, think about this. Now, I was 14, so it wasn't that. I'm
okay.
So that's what the Van Winkle.
I was trying to help you out, man. I was trying to be like, hey, man.
That's right. Now you look at it through the disco era eyes.
Fair.
And, when Diane Carroll comes on with that I showed that to my wife today and she's like, what was this? When Itchy he almost has like VR head
literally
contraption on his head.
Yeah.
And he's like panting and grunting and she's being all, whoa, what was that? I remember the Boba Fett part because I'm like, that's a cool character. Why don't they have that character in the movies? And then, of course, a couple years later, he gets to be in The Empire Strikes Back. But I think that cartoon was probably to anybody that's seen it, the animated short that's in there is probably the biggest takeaway when you go. And actually later on, it became the same animation company made Star Wars droids and Ewoks in the mid '80s.
Right.
From that little short that you see in this holiday special that was in '78.
That special is by far the highlight of this thing. However, that special is also an abomination because that special Han Solo, I guess that's Han Solo. I don't know for certain.
Oh, and the animated
that person's face.
Yeah.
For one time, his eye kind of opens a little bit when somebody said something like snarky. He was like, "Oh." Otherwise, his eyes were like sealed shut.
There's a part where it seems like clearly Darth Vader hires Boba Fett, right? Boba Fett gets them, but Boba Fett helps them survive. And there's a whole part where Luke says, "Thank you so much, Boba Fett. You're a great friend and a loyal supporter of the Resistance," and all kinds of stuff like that. And then as Boba Fett's leaving, C-3PO says, "No, he's not."
Oh yeah, that part was kind of like, I was watching that and I went, because, so first thing, apparently George Lucas wrote that thing. Also, apparently George Lucas forgot that Luke could understand R2-D2 because that was the first thing I noticed, because C-3PO was like, "I'm going to have to come along too so I can translate." And I was like, no, fuck you don't. He like, how the hell does he do in the X-Wing? Like, why do we need your tin bucket in there? Like, you know, but anyway. So
well,
then,
in the same movie, earlier in the special, remember earlier in the special, Luke is talking to R2-D2. So it's in the same context. Yeah.
Exactly. So anyways, and then later we get to the part where they're doing, and where it's revealed to Luke and Han and them that Boba Fett is bad. You know, it's revealed to the audience a little earlier, but it's revealed to him. And the only guy in the room with the weapon is Boba Fett. And what does he do? Slowly back away and leave. And it's like, why didn't you just kill all their asses? And
that was your job. That was your one job.
But oh man, that was bizarre. It was bizarre, fun, but bizarre in a weird way. It was fun.
I'm sorry. I think I interrupted you. I blacked out from rage induced.
So Ethan, what did you think?
Oh my God! So here's something that actually happened to me, Nate and Mick. I was watching this movie. I watched it a little bit late, and I was watching it. And I was like, my brain literally started hurting. So I was like, I don't understand what's happening. What's going on here? And I was lying down, trying to fight falling asleep. And I said, after about an hour in or so, I just kind of dozed off. I stopped fighting it and just dozed off. And I said, you know what? If need be, I'll rewind it or what have you. I didn't care anymore. And I fell asleep basically. And I was having the best dream. I was like dreaming about teaming up with Keanu Reeves to save Logan Brownie or something great. That was a great, genuinely awesome dream. And it was amazing. And then I woke up and it was like, I looked at my clock and it was like 2 minutes later. I was like, God damn, like 2 minutes past, I'm trapped in the time warp of this movie. This movie is going to haunt me until I die. So to answer your question, I didn't like it.
So Mick, watching it again after all these years, what did you think?
Wow. I don't remember it being that long, even though I did check the timestamp on the streaming, that it was an hour and 37 minutes and change or whatever. And I actually found a couple different versions. One of them was kind of cut down where it didn't tell you that it was sponsored by General Motors and that it was and that it was preempting Wonder Woman and Incredible Hulk. And then I think some of the
those
scenes
are my favorite
one
parts.
of them, I think some of the scenes from when Itchy has the VR goggles and Diane Carroll's doing her thing, I think in one of the versions it's edited, because there's one, I swear there's one where they don't show Itchy like grunting and panting and stuff where that he was doing. And it was just, I showed it to the wife and she's like, how did they get this on television? Just that one part. And then I showed her other parts of it and she's like, they're all at the beginning. I'm like, at the beginning, she's like, are there supposed to be subtitles here? What are they saying? All that big, all like grunting and howling and crap at the beginning. No subtitles. What's going on?
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was annoying.
Oh yeah. It was for the first like full 15 minutes of the film, or not film. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry,
please
misspoke.
Please.
Of the special, like there's the first like 2 minutes of like, the Star Wars holiday special starring Mark Hamill as, whatever. Got all that bullshit.
Yeah, starring Mark Hamill as he does a cameo.
But then it's like 11, 12 minutes of just solid Wookiee grunting. like, and just essentially a mime, like not mime, but I guess just like a pantomime, I guess.
Yeah.
But I do have a quote actually to that thing, because I know we would go straight for it. For that bit of the with the VR goggles, which by the way looked like he was going to the hairstylist and he had one of those hair dryers. That's what it looked like to me.
For coneheads.
Yeah, for coneheads. Yeah. But it's according to producer Mitzi Welch, the sequence with Diane Carroll was intended to be softcore porn that would pass the censors. So it seems that they
really
succeeded.
So it was
wow.
It wasn't.
Was that.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
I mean, you said Mick, it was the 70s. Well, one thing too is interesting. There's so much. There's a part with Art Carney. Art Carney's in this movie. Art Carney, you could argue, is the star of this. I said movie. I'm sorry. Art Carney is the star of this thing. But there's a part as he's giving Itchy the Oculus Rift porn VR adapter, and he like kind of winks and nudges him and says, "Hey, this is for you, happy life, dad," kind of thing. And then gives him a hand job or whatever it is. It's like this is clearly horrible, and you're not even trying to be subtle about what you're doing, because Star Wars, like as George Lucas has said thousands of times, it was originally made for kids. That was the whole idea. So having this sequence on national TV in the height of Star Wars mania, clearly kids are going to see this and be like, "What's going on?" Mick, when you saw this as a 14-year-old, can you remember? Did you know what you were seeing, or were you? Like,
it was racy. It was kind of awkward. But realize that what you just said too, as well, is that we didn't have anything Star Wars from the time that the episode 4 dropped in May of '77. We had I think a book came out that was supposed to be the next Star Wars movie. It was the premise for it. Splinter of the Mind's Eye is the name of the book, and apparently that was going to be potentially the next made into the next movie. And then when Star Wars made a bunch of money, George Lucas is like, "Oh, we're going to make whatever we want because I got all the money to do whatever I want." So he went on to do Empire, and then Splinter of the Mind's Eye became basically the first Star Wars expanded universe. And that came out in middle of '78, that book. Other than that, the Marvel Comics series was really the only other fix that we got at the home front, because we didn't have any internet. We didn't have other stuff going on television. That was Star Wars. The only thing we had was Star Wars in re-release and books. So there really wasn't a whole lot to get our fix of Star Wars. And when this thing was coming up, and I saw it in TV Guide, most Star Wars fans were glued to the TV, waiting with the popcorn and everything. And then we're like, "Oh boy, what is this?" And then what is that? And and you know what I noticed about watching it again, though? Kudos to Harrison Ford for being he is the most serious one in the whole thing. Even with the cheesy opening set where it's just him and Chewie in a cheesy Millennium Falcon cockpit with just 2 seats in it, shaking around. Harrison Ford he's in character, man. The whole time.
Oh man, he's selling it.
Serious. He is he's selling it through the whole
thing.
And he was
he showed up.
He was just he was almost too serious. Where it was everybody else is this is holiday special. Harrison Ford is I'm on Solo, damn it.
Because at the end, once they actually do, I mean, if there's a plot at all, it's the idea that Harrison Ford is trying to get Chewie to his family for Life Day, and they finally show up at the very end at Chewie's home with his family and everything. And Lumpy, Han picks up Lumpy or tries to pick up Lumpy.
Yeah, it's not a very good.
And then doesn't he hand Lumpy over to Chewie?
But he says the same thing that Nate says daily, and he says, "Here, go to your daddy." And it's like, thank you. You sold that line in a way that shouldn't have been sold, and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, he showed up, but on the other end of the spectrum, we have Carrie Fisher. Who you could totally tell she was like, "I just need this paycheck. I did not think this was going to go anywhere. It did, thank God. Really so I am here for a payday, and that's all it is." Because Mark Hamill. I actually think Mark Hamill did a pretty good job too. I think he was he was selling it too.
But the operative word being pretty. He looked I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure they put too much. He looked.
Here are my notes. Here are my notes for him. Loved Mark Hamill's haircut. Looked like Mary Mann when she played Peter Pan. It was.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He her. Yeah, he did.
I seriously was like, when did Mary Mann get into Star Wars?
But he just looked. It looked abnormal. It didn't look right or something. Yeah.
Well, apparently he was like he was still recovering from the facial surgery from his car accident.
Oh, so they put a whole bunch of makeup and stuff to kind of cover it up.
So there was
overcompensated.
Yeah, that's probably what was going on there too.
That makes sense.
And I was going to say, we're talking about the people that were in this and their approaches to it. Did you read anything about how Art Carney, Harvey Korman, and B. Arthur got into this special?
I didn't see anything, but so everything I'm about to say is speculation. I think Harvey Korman actually, he does make sense, because if you think of this, of like those specials that they would have on a regular basis for whatever reason, like that are
variety shows.
Yeah. Harvey Korman was a major player in that world. In fact, the Carol Burnett show was a big part of his being famous. I think he kind of makes sense. Art Carney and B. Arthur, I think, are who they could get. Like because after it played once and then everybody tried to bury it, nobody wants to talk about it.
I agree with you entirely, Nate. That I know Harvey Korman especially was big. He was huge. He was also in films too. He was in Mel Brooks movies, like Blazing Saddles at the time. Just he was a huge guy. But the problem was Harvey Korman is hilarious. I mean, obviously he works with Conway a lot. They're kind of a good duo, but he's still funny by himself. The problem was this movie. It feels like it was written by a child in one language, then interpreted by a child in another language, and then broadcast to a child in another language altogether.
Well, you don't know how accurate you are, because apparently this was written by a very heavily coked out Bruce Valanche, which fits your description.
Bruce Valanche, Jesus
Christ.
And
you know what? And that's in my notes. The height of cocaine abuse in the disco 70s was one of my notes. Yeah, that's all I can think of. Somebody pitching this and going like, "That's a great idea." In the room, in the boardroom, going like, "This is awesome. Put Star Wars on it. Have Wookiees. George wants Wookiees. We're giving him Wookiees. George wants this. Give George what he wants."
Yeah.
So I bet you what you just said, Mick, is the exact pitch they made. Well, Coke. They probably said that.
No, I was just say, hey, Star Wars is so big right now, we can do whatever we want. Yeah. Put Star Wars on it, throw it on CBS for 2 hours. Throw in there whatever you want. Yeah.
The first Harvey Korman bit, I actually think the first Harvey Korman bit was actually kind of funny.
Talk. So people who haven't seen it, and please. Talk them through it.
Okay, so basically we're in the life of the Wookiees, which, by the way, it was very true to life, having a small child named Lumpy running around while Granddad stands there with a sharp implement. Which is basically what he does for the first 15 minutes, running around getting yelled at by his mother. Also, Lumpy is a little shit too. They're getting raided by the Imperial forces, and they're like, look for anything rebel related. And what does the little fucker do? Sits down and watches a rebel cartoon. Anyway, but back to the thing. So they're going through their thing. Mala, Chewbacca's wife, decides Chewbacca's wife.
We can't steamroll that fact. Chewbacca's married with a kid. Yeah. We can't steamroll these facts.
Yes, Chewbacca, the family man, the family Wookiee. I really wanted Art Carney when they came in, and it was like, there are 4 Wookiees who live here, and here's the woman, the father, and the son. Where's the dad? And I really wanted Art Carney to go. It was me. I shaved. Anyway, but no. So Mala is trying to cook, and so she turns on a cooking show, and it's Harvey Korman doing a mix of Harvey Korman, an alien, and Julia Child, and it was actually, I found it kind of funny.
But my first thought was like, why is Harvey Korman cross-dressing? Like, what's the point? I guess they wanted to have someone, like you said, parody Julia Childs or something. Okay, cool, but why not just get B. Arthur for the scene as opposed to
we got to remember, it's 70s. That was funny. Just that alone. Having Harvey Korman there with 2 massive tits is just right there. They think that's gold right off the bat.
4 arms.
For even asking. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. 4 arms. Yeah, 4 arms too.
Yeah, and I was going to ask that too, Mick. The 4 arms. It's like, okay, so you mentioned he's an alien, so yes, he has 4 arms, and these are weird things that come into play. And I guess the idea was, I was like, why would we care to see Chewbacca's wife learn how to cook, because it's not even like it matters. It's not. It's just a random, and that's kind of the problem in general, is that none of these things matter. It's just random vignette about nonsense and random vignette about nonsense and random vignette about nonsense, all smacked a bunch. It's like none of this matters, and it's just it bothered me so much.
I don't think anybody putting this together really cared at the time, like we were talking about. They were like, "Oh, put it together, throw Star Wars on it. We can do bits." Harvey, what do you think about this? What can we do? I mean, who knows where the inspiration for these things came from, because they weren't really inspired to begin with. So it's like, what is it?
The other two Corman bits are bizarre, especially because the third one is also with B. Arthur, and now I will say his part in that is bizarre, but I want to see Mandalorian treatment of Akmina and her bar. I want to see that, and I would really love to see it with B. Arthur, but it's not going to happen, obviously.
I actually really enjoyed B. Arthur. She was fun. Yeah. The problem was the writing didn't make any sense, and the situations it just didn't make any sense. The idea for the song, remember the song Nate was like about her being so sorry to see them go and so heartfelt, and there's a part where a gigantic droid walks out, has a tear in his eyes, he's leaving. It's like, I don't know that this actually makes sense. If I just watch this on mute, I'd probably enjoy it a lot more, because it's fun to see B. Arthur, and she sings and it's charming, but it's like when words come out of their mouths, you know what it reminds me of? You know how there's extras in the background just doing their thing? You're directed by the director or whatnot to pretty much just look busy. You may be given a small task, just do that over and over again, just look busy. And you're given no dialogue. You're just back there doing that. This is like almost like if someone just took the camera, went onto the extras in the background, and pretty much they had to start talking just right there on the spot. Yeah. Like someone said, talk. Just whatever's in your mouth, talk. And that's it. And they filmed that. It's like none of this is all non sequitur bullshit on the screen.
I think the least worst part of this special was the B. Arthur singing in the cantina, because I liked seeing the creatures, and I remember seeing it back in the day. And the song wasn't awful. I mean, it was just just misplaced. It was just like, why this?
Yes.
Why this and why here? I mean, we get to see those creatures again and more creatures in the cantina. Yeah. But why this song for this bit? And it didn't relate to anything. It was just there.
Okay, so it's B. Arthur, so I'm going to relate it to the Golden Girls. There's an episode of the Golden Girls later in the series where B. Arthur starts going to a bar that Blanche goes to, and she sings at the bar, and all the men fawn over B. Arthur Dorothy because she sings at the bar, and Blanche gets jealous and blah blah blah. But there's a couple of songs that B. Arthur does in the show, and it's really good, and it almost would, like, in their like old standards, that kind of thing, it almost would make more sense if they had just taken an old standard, not even change the lyrics, maybe change the lyrics just to make it seem like Star Wars-y if they wanted to, and just do an old standard, just to be like, how about this, guys? I'll buy you around, I'll sing you a song, now get the fuck out. That would have made more sense than the song that they put in.
But Nate, what you said is a great idea. It would have been cool if they had just said, you know what, we have Harvey Korman and we do have B. Arthur. What if Harvey Korman is playing the piano for her while she's singing? Or we see the band up here. What if she's like the front runner singing this song while the band behind them is playing the music? Do something like that. Even if it's like, it's just, at least it makes sense as far as the context of she's a performer in a Star Wars bar or the cantina. It makes logical sense. But they didn't quite do that. And it's, Well, so Mick, let me ask you this question, because obviously you were definitely of the time and you saw it. Were you dissatisfied back, and I think from what you can remember, when you saw this, were you disappointed? Or were you like, oh, no, that's great? That was
because once again, I'll go back to, I mean, I wouldn't say it was great, but it was, we got our Star Wars fix in our living room.
That was a fix.
It was like, what? Worked. Yeah, I mean, to a certain level. I mean, and really the biggest thing that I can remember was like, I hope that Boba Fett character comes back. And obviously the animators later on did the Star Wars Droids and Ewoks, which was, they were popular series. But to get Star Wars on television was like, back then, you really couldn't, unless you were going to go see, the movie again in the theater. You had nothing else. There was nothing else Star Wars. I don't think a lot of people, I mean, look at today in comparison with all the books and it just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Back then it was episode 4 comic book series from Marvel, that novel that I had mentioned, and toys. And I remember my aunt and uncle had the Star Wars soundtrack. I couldn't believe it. I'm 14 years old, and they're, much older, my parents' age, and like they had the Star Wars soundtrack by John Williams in their album collection. I was blown away. Like, you like Star Wars too? Like, the phenomenon that it was, anything Star Wars was what everybody was gravitating towards, and to have this in our living rooms was just a mind blown. But the Wookiee portions of it were even back then were like, what is going on with this? Like, itchy and itchy and lumpy, like Chewbacca, right?
Yeah,
from Kashyyyk.
Yeah,
and their names Itchy, Lumpy.
Itchy and Lumpy.
Itchy and Lumpy. What are they? I mean, I could see them being nicknames for longer names because nobody could pronounce them.
Oh, well,
like
actually,
but
they are. I found out they are. Yeah, it's something like oh geez, I'm gonna have to look this up now because I was surprised when I found this out. And I also found out I noticed there's a part where one of the Imperial people on one of the random TVs that pops up and starts talking. He says on the planet of Kazook. He calls it Kazook.
Yes.
And I found out that that was actually a name that George Lucas was considering for Kashyyyk before he landed on Kashyyyk. And apparently nobody caught it on that script. So it made it to that guy and he said Kazook instead of Kashyyyk. So
that's why the Wookiees are on Kashyyyk.
Yeah, that was the part I was sleeping through. Don't remember that. But
I don't fault you, my friend.
Here it is. Their actual name. Sorry, I'm gonna Mala, Lumpy, and Itchy were nicknames of their actual names: Malatabuk, Lumpororump, and Atachikuk. Atachikuk. Those are
that makes more sense now.
But we never. Okay, that makes the lump sounds even worse. It sounds like
it's Lumpo-Warump. Okay, so whoever wrote that never had a lisp. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
No.
That's Wumpable-Wump.
No, just no.
So this doesn't turn into too much of a beat fest. Let's shift gears slightly because we also watched the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special, which just released on the 17th of November, which was how many years after the one did you say?
42 years to 42. The day. Actually, November 17th in my little research. November 17th is when the original Holiday Special was released, and the Lego dropped on November 17th of this year. So 42 years exactly to the day.
Mm-hmm. So I'm very curious. What did you guys think? What did you think of it?
The wife and I watched it and thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, you knew when it was Lego that you were going to get some really cute bits in it, and the genius of them reenacting some of my favorite Star Wars scenes and Legos just had me very excited. Like I was just about to jump out of my seat because I'm like, this is so cool the way they did this. It's awesome. I mean, I can't speak enough about it. I mean, it was very entertaining, very well done. It was just incredible. I mean, I can't wait to watch it again.
It was fun. Yeah, it was like
absolutely.
To piggyback off what Mick said, it was a lot of fun because the Lego people, when they make these things as far as Star Wars and the video games, things like that, they always have a really good sense of humor about everything that they're doing. They're very aware of it, essentially, and they use their medium of the digital Lego pieces to their advantage to kind of have explosions or things break apart, that kind of stuff all the time. So it was a lot of fun. It was a genuine sense of fun that was a great injection after watching this special. Because I watched it right after I watched the Holiday Special, the one from '78. And so it was really, really fun to watch that. And also, this is something that Nate mentioned before. They managed to immediately tackle some things that were a little disappointing in the sequel films. But I'll let Nate expand on that.
What I liked about what they did and what they did, like namely, is having Rey training Finn to be a Jedi, which a lot of people were like, why was Finn not a Jedi? He should have been a freaking Jedi. And that was one of a couple things that they just like headlong, like first couple scenes, they were basically like, yes, people complained about this and we agree, fixed, but I like,
or at least addressed.
Yeah, at least addressed. Yeah, that's what I liked. And I did like the way they, they did the time travel thing, like Mick said, where it gave them an excuse to go back and revisit these things
Great moments.
in a very fun way. And then also I just I fucking loved the Emperor. He was just
yeah.
Really? Oh, what's greatest Emperor? Oh, I guess that was a nice thing for him to give me. Oh, it's great. I just loved that. Like it was just like, and it was funny because the warden looked over to me and she was like, "Why are they doing the voice like that?" And I was like, "Cause it's funny." And she was like, "Oh, okay." Like she thought maybe there was a reason, and I was like, "No, it's funny."
No, nothing meta about it. It's just funny, and it was just nice. I mean, I guess after the holiday special, and then after the sequels, kind of upset people. It was nice to be able to just laugh. Star Wars in that sense.
Yeah.
So it was. I'm glad you suggested it, Nate, for us to watch it.
Oh, very cleverly done. I mean, it was the time travel thing was just so clever. Where it's like not only did she and BB-8 go through, but then other people started going through with them. Yeah. And not just people, but all the ships and everything are starting to go through, and more building. And it's just very, very well designed and very clever. I just enjoyed the whole thing thoroughly. I mean, it's just amazing. And I think there's a lot of Easter eggs in there. I mean, and they also do a little bit of bashing in there, here and there, where they mention different things about Jar Jar gets thrown in there.
They do.
I just love it. I mean, they just enough to where it's not bashing, but it has to be said.
Not.
Like, oh, let's put it in there. We got
it's all in good fun. Yeah.
That's how it came across to me. It came across as like good-natured ribbing, like especially the parts with Kylo Ren without his shirt and the other dude coming in. Like that was just hilarious. Like that whole part was just really funny.
So also before we leave here too, talking about more good things from Star Wars. So we obviously talked about Boba Fett, the first one to introduce the Mandalorian armor in the 1978 holiday special. Recently, he made his spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen the Mandalorian TV show. But Boba Fett reappears in season 2 of that. So it's kind of seemed, bizarrely full circle for us to watch where he came from and also see where he ends up in the span of a couple months. So yeah, go ahead.
Good. I was gonna say, Mick, I'm dying to ask. So what are your thoughts on them bringing Boba Fett back? Like, are you happy? Are you like, how Sarlacc? Hello? Like, I'm very curious to know.
Well, there's a lot of expanded universe stories that have Boba Fett getting out of the Sarlacc pit. So there's, I know Marvel or the comic books, he flies out in one, and another one I described that he cuts a hole in the creature with help from somebody else who's being digested within the stomach of the Sarlacc. So I don't mind that. We don't really need to know, because it never really gives us the backstory about how he got away. But I'm digging that they used the same actor who was the Jango Fett, who was Boba Fett's father, and they were all clones. So it makes sense that he would look like that, from episode 2. For those that remember that kind of hot mess too. But and then him getting his armor back. I mean, the whole story with having the sheriff or whatever had the armor. You were thinking that's not Boba Fett. It's like, oh, you got the
it was a nice fake out.
else, and then nice, very nice fake out. The question to me is, and by the way, to answer your question, love it. I mean, bringing the ship back and kind of showing even the details where when the ship flips, you see the interior where the characters, the interior is rotating to keep them level as the ship is twirling. It's like, how do they keep them upright? And it's like, the whole inside has a gyroscope in it, and it's just keeping them level.
You mentioned something that I realized they actually kind of foreshadowed a little bit in that sheriff episode where the man, where they're trying to kill that gigantic sandworm. The fact that Mando goes into the sandworm to kill it and blows it up and flies out of it and everything. And he gets Boba Fett's armor. And then you find out that Boba Fett essentially did the same thing to the Sarlacc, we're assuming. So I really liked that foreshadowing of kind of being like, okay, so he's doing this, he's getting the armor, blah, blah, blah. But you're probably going to see somebody soon, and I like that looking back on it.
I completely agree. It's one of those things where they're pretty much saying, see how the validity of this it's possible. It's definitely possible for someone to fly to the belly of the beast and survive. With
it's like, here you go, naysayers.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Really good point. Yeah.
Before we leave, I wanted to remember that I just read this today that on Christmas Day, Disney Plus, they should owe us royalties for this. Disney Plus is going to have a Mandalorian special about the making of episode 2 on Christmas Day. That'll drop on Disney Plus. So
season 2 of Mandalorian.
Season 2, yeah, season 2. And I haven't seen. Ethan mentioned it earlier before we began the show. Is that there's a making of season 1 that I haven't caught. So maybe I'll catch them back. And get caught up. So I got to check that out.
You have to check that out, Mick, because Dave Filoni, like, there's a couple of like bits in that thing that like you are just gonna nerd out when you see the Dave Filoni bits.
Thanks again for visiting with us, hanging out with us. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes,
Happy Life Day, everybody.
Happy Life Day. And then Carrie Fisher starts singing a bizarre song. Anyway, so thank you everybody for joining us. Please make sure to like, subscribe, check out our YouTube channel, check out Twitch. We also have a podcast, so you can find that wherever you get your podcasts and wherever we get our podcasts too, because we probably get them from the same place. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day.
Johnny Sins.
At Geek Insider, we foster relationships with those in the geek sphere so we can give our audience the insider view of entertainment,